the Oscar-winning actor who walked away from Hollywood at the height of his fame. His name is Joe Pesci. Today he lives by the Jersey Shore, far from the lights of Los Angeles. No cameras, no interviews, just the sound of jazz and the soft wind from the ocean. Every morning he sits on his balcony, holding a cup of coffee, watching the waves move. This is Joe Pesci's life now, quiet, calm, and free. He was once the man from Goodfellas, Home Alone, and Casino. He played mobsters, villains, and funny men that the world never forgot. But then he made a different choice. He traded red carpets for ocean sunsets. He gave up fame to find peace. He doesn't need applause anymore. He doesn't need attention. All he needs is the sound of water and the freedom of silence. From Newark streets to Hollywood stages, Joe Pesci lived a story full of grit and glory. And now, it ends here, in a $5 million home where the waves tell his story. Stay till the end, because we're going inside his Jersey Shore estate to see how the man who once ruled the screen found peace after fame. Joe Pesci's story begins in Newark, New Jersey in 1943. His mother cut hair. His father tended bar. They didn't have money, but they gave him something better: grit. By age 4, Joe was already performing on radio shows in New York City. By 10, he was on television, smiling through the lights on StarTime Kids. Most kids were still learning to spell their names. Joe was learning how to read a room and make people laugh. He learned how to turn silence into applause. That skill stayed with him for life. He wasn't chasing fame. He was chasing survival and purpose. In the 1960s, he tried music, recording an album called Little Joe Sure Can Sing. He used the name Joe Ritchie. The songs didn't make him famous, but they taught him timing and persistence. He learned how to fail forward, to keep going no matter what. When the spotlight faded, Joe didn't stop. He just changed direction, because in 1970, fate stepped in. He met a man who would change his life forever. His name was Frank Vincent, and together, they started a comedy act that fought through smoky clubs, hecklers, and hard nights for every single laugh. In the 1960s and early 1970s, Joe Pesci wasn't a movie star. He was a struggling performer, moving between music gigs, comedy clubs, and anything that paid the rent. His album, Little Joe Sure Can Sing, didn't chart. His comedy act with Frank Vincent didn't make headlines. But here's what most people miss. Every missed note was a lesson. Every failed joke taught him timing. Every empty room taught him how to face rejection and still stand tall. He and Frank Vincent performed as Vincent and Pesci across small clubs in New Jersey and New York. They bounced jokes, dodged hecklers, and learned how to make people laugh the hard way. That partnership built chemistry, discipline, and trust. Years later, it would turn into movie history. Both men would appear in Goodfellas and Casino, playing roles that mirrored their real hustle. Pesci's music background gave him something few actors had: rhythm. He understood the beat of a scene, the pause before the punch. It made his acting feel alive, unpredictable, and real. But it wasn't comedy or music that opened his door to Hollywood. It was a small film called The Death Collector in 1976. And one man who saw it would change Joe Pesci's life forever. It's 1976. A small, gritty movie called The Death Collector hits the screen. Joe Pesci plays a supporting role, rough, real, and full of heart. The film barely made a ripple, but somewhere in that quiet release, Robert De Niro was watching. He saw something different, something raw. He called Martin Scorsese and said, "You need to see this guy." That moment changed Joe's life. Scorsese cast him in Raging Bull as Joey LaMotta, the brother to Jake LaMotta. It wasn't just a role. It was redemption, his one shot after years of struggle. Pesci's performance was electric, filled with that street truth that no acting school could teach. He even broke a rib during filming, but never stopped. When Raging Bull hit theaters, Joe wasn't the guy from Jersey anymore. He was Oscar-nominated, unpredictable, unforgettable. One small film, one director's attention, one chance. That's all it took to change everything. But the nomination was just the beginning, because through the 1980s, Joe Pesci built a career like a fighter builds his rhythm. Punch after punch, scene after scene, never backing down. Through the 1980s, Joe Pesci built his career film by film, role by role. Easy Money, Eureka, Once Upon a Time in America. Each movie showed a new side of him. The wisecracker, the hustler, the heart. He wasn't the tall, charming hero Hollywood loved. He was the man who stole the scene every single time he appeared. Even when he wasn't the focus, your eyes stayed on him. He had that rare energy, danger and warmth in one frame. Then came 1990, the year that changed everything. He became Tommy DeVito in Goodfellas, the short man with the shortest fuse in movie history. The funny how scene became an instant legend. Audiences laughed, then froze, because they weren't sure what would happen next. That's how real Pesci made it. That year, he won the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor. And when he took the stage, he said only 5 words. It was my privilege. Thank you, simple, direct, 100% Pesci. But he wasn't done surprising the world. Because that same year, he returned to the screen again. Not as a killer, but as a clumsy burglar named Harry in Home Alone. And the world couldn't believe it was the same man. It's 1990. The same year Joe Pesci won an Oscar for playing a violent gangster. He did something no one expected. He became a slapstick clown in Home Alone. One moment, terrifying. The next, completely hilarious. It was pure genius. He went from mob hits to paint cans to the face. And the world loved him for it. He wasn't just an actor anymore. He was an icon. For Home Alone, he earned around $4.5 million. A massive amount back then for a comedy villain. Then came My Cousin Vinny in 1992. This time, Pesci turned courtroom chaos into comedy gold. Critics called it one of his finest performances because his humor didn't come from acting. It came from truth. Most actors chase one legendary role their whole lives. Pesci had 3 or 4 in a single decade. He could make you laugh, flinch, and cry, sometimes all in the same scene. But by the mid-1990s, something started to change. The fame, the noise, the spotlight. It all began to feel heavy. Because when Casino reunited him with Scorsese and De Niro, the story reached its peak. And when it ended, Joe Pesci quietly walked away. By 1995, the story had come full circle. Casino closed the great trilogy: Raging Bull, Goodfellas, Casino, Men, Money, Morality. After decades of living under bright lights, Joe Pesci finally stepped back. Hollywood called it retirement, but to Joe, it was peace. For almost a decade, he vanished, trading movie sets for golf courses, quiet dinners, and long days by the shore. It was the kind of calm you only earn after years of saying yes to the right people and no to the wrong ones. Every now and then, he'd reappear, like a spark in the dark. A short cameo in The Good Shepherd, 2006. A surprise in The Love Ranch, 2010. Even a Snickers commercial that reminded the world he still had that bite. But it wasn't until The Irishman, 2019, that he truly returned. Martin Scorsese reportedly asked him 50 times to take the role. When he finally said yes, it felt like a lion stepping back into the arena. Quieter now, but still dangerous. His performance as Russell Bufalino was haunting and precise. And when the nominations came, Oscar and Golden Globe, it closed the circle that began in 1980. After that, he went home, back to the Jersey Shore. Today, Joe Pesci lives on his own terms. No social media, no red carpets, just jazz, golf, and family. He traded the chaos of film sets for the calm of ocean mornings. The man once known for fiery tempers now finds peace in rhythm, water, and silence. His home tells that story perfectly. A 3,400 square foot waterfront estate resting quietly along Barnegat Bay. As the wrought iron gates open, the driveway curves beneath sculpted pines and trimmed hedges. The house rises ahead, wrapped in soft gray siding, limestone columns, and Anderson windows that catch the morning light. It feels less like a mansion and more like a retreat. Every wall, every path seems to breathe the same air as the sea. From the outside, it whispers 3 words: privacy, precision, peace. You can almost hear the waves, steady as his heartbeat. It's not about showing off, it's about belonging. But what's inside the walls tells an even deeper story. Because when you step through the doors, you don't just see a house. You see the third act of Joe Pesci's life, built from memory, music, and meaning. The staircase curves upward, smooth and quiet, made of imported limestone tile. Above it, 10-foot ceilings open the air. White oak floors stretch wide, glowing under the soft light. To the left, a gallery wall tells his story. Not in words, but in moments. A backstage photo with De Niro, a still from Goodfellas, a framed record from his short music career. It isn't a museum, it's a living timeline. The living room feels like a movie scene, calm, precise, everything where it belongs. At its center, a 72-inch fireplace burns slow, wrapped in rough-cut stone. Above it, floating oak shelves hold old jazz records and family mementos. The floor-to-ceiling windows pull your eyes toward the bay, where small boats drift in golden light. Most evenings, Joe sits there, cigar in hand, jazz low, sun fading. No camera, no lines to read, just peace. But the heart of the home isn't the view, it's the kitchen. Because when Joe cooks for his closest friends, the air fills with the scent of tomato, basil, and memory. Joe Pesci built his fortune the same way he built his name, one choice at a time. His net worth is around $50 million, earned through films, music, and real estate. His biggest break came with Goodfellas. After that Oscar-winning role, Hollywood paid millions to capture his intensity. For Home Alone, he made about $4.5 million. For Lethal Weapon 4, another $3 million. But Joe didn't just take flat checks, he took percentages, smart deals that kept paying long after the cameras stopped. His cars tell the same story. A classic Lincoln Continental worth about $85,000. The one he bought after Goodfellas, saying, "It reminds me of the America I grew up in." And a Mercedes Maybach S-Class, valued near $230,000, chosen for its quiet power and calm ride. Each car is a memory, not a trophy. But Joe's wealth isn't just parked in his garage. He's donated about $150,000 to the Boys and Girls Clubs of America and another $25,000 in 2022 to help wildfire victims find homes. He's also given $50,000 to the Melanoma Research Foundation in memory of a friend. Because for Joe, real wealth isn't money, it's freedom. The freedom to live quietly and give quietly. At 82 years old, Joe Pesci's life moves slow, calm, and deliberate. Mornings start with coffee on the deck, the Atlantic breeze carrying the salt air, and a soft jazz record playing somewhere inside. He doesn't chase noise anymore. He listens to rhythm. Friends say he still sings sometimes. That smooth Sinatra-style tenor from his early music days, only for himself, never for an audience. He spends his time between New Jersey and quiet trips to New York City. His circle is small, his friendship steady. Daniel Stern, his Home Alone co-star, says they meet once a year. A simple ritual that means everything. Now and then, work still calls. He's appeared in Bupkis and in Day of the Fight, only roles that fit his age, pace, and peace. He doesn't act to prove anything anymore. He acts when it feels true. Most days he tends to his garden, spins vinyl records, and takes slow drives down Ocean Avenue in his vintage Lincoln Continental. No spotlight, no hurry, just a man, a song, and a coast, living his final act the way he always wanted. Quietly. Joe Pesci's home on the Jersey Shore isn't just a house, it's a message. After years of playing men who wanted control, he found peace by letting go. The fame faded, but the man remained, humble, private, and real. This isn't a story about retirement, it's about graduation. Joe didn't leave Hollywood because he had to. He left because he'd already won what mattered most. Real wealth isn't money, it's freedom. The freedom to wake up without alarms, to sit on your balcony and watch the tide, to hum an old tune for no one but yourself. Now, under a silver dawn, Joe Pesci sits with coffee in hand, the ocean endless before him. No cameras, no scripts, just peace. You know him from Goodfellas, Home Alone, and Casino. But here, on the shore, he's not acting anymore. He's simply living. And maybe that's the greatest performance of all. Because the real question isn't if Joe Pesci is still relevant. It's if we are brave enough to do what he did. Walk away from the noise and find peace. Joe Pesci's Jersey Shore estate isn't just a home. It's a sanctuary. A place where the man who once played mob bosses now plays jazz records. Where the actor who once shook Hollywood now finds calm in ocean sunsets. From Newark barbershops to Oscar stages. From mob hits to paint cans. He built a career that defined Hollywood. But his greatest success wasn't fame. It was knowing when to walk away. If this look inside Joe Pesci's quiet coastal life inspired you, hit subscribe. If you respect a legend who chose peace over fame, smash like and turn on notifications. We'll keep exploring homes and stories of icons who rewrote the rules. Now tell us in the comments, which part of Pesci's world inspired you most? The estate, the cars, or his calm? Because the greatest role any of us can play is learning to live in peace.